I will call our City Council meeting to order. Our first order of business tonight will be the invocation, and tonight it will be led by Bishop Keith Earl from the Church of Jesus Christ of the Latter-day Saints. And following that, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. So at this time, will you please stand? I think that one's on, Bishop. Is it on?
Our Father, which art in heaven, we give thee thanks this evening that we can join in the City Council room and participate in this City Council meeting. We are grateful for our mayor, the City Council, the City Manager, for the city staff who serves our citizens so well, and pray thy blessing to be with each of them as they continue in this service to our community. We pray that tonight they might be able to take care of the business on the agenda at hand, be able to have good discussion and come to consensus on those things that will best serve our city. We're so grateful to be citizens of this wonderful country and to be citizens of this beautiful city. And these things we thank thee for and ask in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge the allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. In my mayor's
of Duncanville, I would like to update you on a key work plan objective of the Duncanville Sports Legacy Commission. One of their main efforts has been to memorialize, promote, and leverage the basketball history of Duncanville, both past and present. A few months ago, we had a display case installed out here in the main lobby, and they have added a few items to that. But today, we received numerous items on loan from the Duncanville Independent School District's athletic administration to upgrade the existing memorabilia display case that's in that lobby. And some of the items that we received today included several mementos featuring legendary coach Sandra Meadows, the Pantherettes 2012 National #1 Ranking Championship Trophy, several Pantherettes District and Tournament Championship trophies, the 2003 UIL Girls 5A Basketball Championship Trophy, Pantherette 1952 UIL Conference Championship Trophy, and several National Achievement Awards that were presented to Athletic Director and Pantherettes coach Kathy Self-Morgan, one of which is the 2014 Pat Summit National High School Coach of the Year Award. And we would especially like to thank the Duncanville ISD Athletic Administration and especially Athletic Director and Girls Basketball Coach Kathy Self-Morgan and Chris Anderson, the Assistant Athletic Director, for their assistance in providing this memorabilia on loan to us. It's highly appreciated, and it will greatly assist us in our goal of memorializing, promoting, and leveraging our basketball legacy. Thank you.
I think that 52 team was the one that Linda Smith Carter was on. And she loved basketball, and there were several. Gail Slaggert, I think, was on that team. But they won the state championship that year. Linda loves basketball, so much so that she talked her husband, Don Carter, into buying the Mavericks, and Don didn't know anything about basketball. So that's quite a connection for Duncanville there, and we're so happy over that. Item number 2A is to receive a proclamation from the Social Engagement Partnership on their progress, plans, and recommendations to date.
Good evening, Council. Actually, this is a presentation. I am the staff liaison for the Social Engagement Partnership. And we have here tonight several of our members, Jorge Ruiz, the president, Amy Durant, and Chris Cyrek, who will be presenting.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Green and City Council members, and thank you for allowing us to present to you tonight. I'll show you, we're the Social Engagement Partnership, and we do have a vacancy at this time, and we do have some other members that weren't able to be here tonight, Ramel Jackson, Hector Flores, and Kenyatta Pace. And our team's mission is to create a partnership with the community with the goal of engaging 6% of the population in conversations, branding Duncanville as a family-oriented community and as the basketball and sports tourism capital of Texas. And we're developing ways to engage citizens between the ages of 18 and 30 to become more involved in Duncanville. So tonight, we'll talk about citizen engagement using social media, branding using our new website design, and the marketing efforts that we'll use to support those platforms. And now I'll hand it over to Chris to discuss engagement.
Engagement. So really, what are we talking about there? Usually it's things like voting, public comments, attending city council meetings. How y'all doing? So we've developed an idea that is to create platforms that will get people talking, communicating with each other and with the city. So we started out by going out. Jorge was our man in the street. He went to public events like the National Night Out, the festival in Duncanville, introduced himself and introduced our committee, who we are and what we aim to do. Amy helped lead the charge gathering data, exit polls, survey data. That was due to the idea that in order to reach people, we want to know where they are at. And that got us thinking, where are people? And where would they be easiest to reach? And that might be online, because most everyone here is online at some point. I know most of y'all probably watch Netflix. I'm sure there's people here probably checking their Facebook as we speak. And there are some benefits to this approach, including a low cost of entry. It'll provide access to the diverse demographics that we need to hit in order to reach that 6% engagement target. There's a real minimal capital investment. We can be more responsive to people's comments. And really, it's kind of cheap. That requires fewer boots on the ground because you could do it all through a computer. So let's take a look at how some cities are doing online. These are our friends down 67 in Cedar Hill. Their Facebook page has about 3,000 likes. That's 3,000 subscriptions. Those people will see updates from the city on a daily basis. There's even an option there to message the city directly, and they generally receive a response pretty quickly. So that's a pretty direct form of engagement. Now, if you're on Facebook and you search for the city of Duncanville, this is what will come up. This is an unofficial site. It's not controlled by the city. It features 164 likes. It's not really a great look. The top comments are pretty critical. This is our presence on Facebook at the moment. So, looking at that, that's not to say that the city of Duncanville doesn't have a strong online presence. Our fire, police, parks and rec, library departments, they all have unofficial Facebook pages, but because they're not official municipal accounts, they don't show up very high on search lists. They're not official pages. They're not official pages, but we intend to fix all that by making these pages better, by rolling them into official accounts. We won't be changing anything. We'll have the same operators. We'll leverage their existing user bases. We'll just roll them into an official Duncanville umbrella and then deploy unified branding across all of these pages. That'll allow for closer cooperation between the individual departments, and it'll also allow us to tap into their existing user bases and expand those user bases in a coordinated fashion. And that's generally what we'll be aiming at. This is a mock-up of an official City of Duncanville government website. One advantage we would have is that every one of those departments would feed into this master account. If we got 3,000 likes, that would qualify for well over 6% of public engagement, but I'm fairly confident we can do a lot better than that. But that's only really part of the equation. Our social media efforts would be utilized to benefit and enhance an official City of Duncanville website redesign. Whatever we choose to do there, I'm going to hand it over to our president, Jorge.
Thank you, Chris. Mayor, City Council, I want to show you our vision for the new Duncanville.com. And before I get into the particulars of what you're looking at, I want to tell you a little bit about what's behind the scenes that you don't see, and that is that this is unlike today's website. This is on a standalone platform, so it would be our very own unique website. We're not sharing it with anyone else. So that is the main thing that we're changing behind the scenes. On the front side, our vision is to utilize most of the space on the page to begin branding and marketing much better than we have done. And what we're doing that through the use of very subtle background images that will be flashing very subtly throughout all of the pages. Utilizing visuals from our neighborhood, from our local events, images that are representative of the demographic that we have in Duncanville. On the main page, there would also be feeds from our social media areas like Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or anything else that we use. And the main, in trying to meet the challenge of tackling the main call that we have in our committee, that of engaging our citizens, we're addressing that by creating two-way communication. So what we're proposing is creating forums and allowing citizens to add comments to articles that are published, just like they do, say, in the Dallas Morning News or the Wall Street Journal or any online publication, allows users to be able to log in and add comments. It's a great way to begin creating a welcoming feeling for the citizens to come in and participate and engage and respond to the stories that are published or articles or anything that are presented on the site. So the smaller window there on the lower right is the dialogue that people will interact with to add comments. The bigger window in the background there will be a set of topics that can be created, started by either the committee or the city as a starting point, and then people can begin participating in the conversation. But the main thing is to create that conversation and to give people the feeling, and well, not just the feeling, but the reality that they are able to communicate with the city council and with the city government. Again, social media would be integrated throughout the site, in strategic locations. There would also be a more user-friendly request tracker system, I believe is what we call it right now, and there would be more of an easier way to interact and to get to the areas that a user or a citizen might be looking for. Again, the improved branding and marketing goes to, again, every page that you'll be seeing throughout will be displaying a new visual. And again, utilizing familiar scenes, like on the top there is Duncan Switch. On the bottom page there, you see some of the events that happened. But also in the form of marketing and branding better, we're going to be introducing some more high-tech and more animated graphics to better describe, to better, I suppose, sell some of the items that the page is trying to sell. And what I mean by that is, clearly to present the demographics of the city, we can use things like animated graphics that make a very clear presentation and display of, say, the income of averages and the citizen breakdown by demographics and so on. So there would be also following this, there would be more of a magazine-style layout. So again, we're going to be creating a site that presents articles based on areas of interest that the citizens have, like, say, community or culture, and allowing people to view more of a socially aimed type of communication. So again, every one of the pages are going to be redesigned, clearly, but again, with the intent of trying to relate items that perhaps weren't so clear in the past. For instance, on things like, district maps, to clearly tie the people that belong to that district, our representatives, and et cetera, and to create, even to add interactive Google Maps throughout. A lot of that being that it is a municipality, we believe that having the ability to continue to present maps and where people can figure out that its location that is at the core of being in a city. And on the back end side, there's certainly going to be created more control and more flexibility at the same time for the administration who's going to be operating the site and for the departments that are going to be working, interacting with it on the back end. It's a much more intelligent system than we have had in the past. There is full control by departments, again, and it's a multiple user interface as far as the administrative team that's going to be operating it, but it is our own installation, our own proprietary website and system that will be running it. And it would also be run by a professional webmaster as well. So that is all I have. Again, it's just a brief introduction to it, and I'd like to turn it over to Amy.
So the new redesigned website and the Facebook page will roll out in summer of 2016. So we're recommending that to gain community interest and awareness, we need to start pre-promoting in spring of 2016. So we have lots of available communication vehicles, local media, the e-blasts and such, and we'd like to generate some awareness so we can have people looking forward to this and waiting for it, anticipating. And then we think that when it does roll out, we really want to pull out all the stops and strongly launch it. So then we'd even use more like possibly the LED sign and probably the mayor's column in the suburban newspaper. Just really pull out all the stops and really launch it as best we can to really get people excited about the new website and the new Facebook page. So moving forward, what we'll be doing as a team is in the next months is we'll recommend development of future social media platforms. Maybe we'll think about adding Twitter or something else going forward. We'll be working on that. We'll identify branding opportunities and strategies. We'll implement promotional campaigns for the website and the Facebook page. We'll monitor the analytics of those, and we'll partner with our other boards and commissions to help increase citizen engagement over the next months. So keep your eyes on Duncanville because big things are going to be happening. Are there any questions?
Thank you so much. Questions? Anybody got any questions? Okay, go ahead.
I was just, good job. You did a good job. Who do you think is going to answer all those, which staff person, is that you, Mr. Hugman? Who's going to answer?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, ma'am.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's lovely.
But you do raise a good point, and that is a comment, and that has been a lot of our discussion as well, that with Facebook, we do have to monitor that regularly, and we have to be ready to respond. And so we have talked about that, and we have some plans within staff of having different people monitoring that and being able to respond in a timely manner. So, because if we don't, then we're going to lose the effectiveness. So we understand that.
I thought maybe one of you volunteered.
We're available.
Oh, you want to do that? You want to answer the Facebook? There you go.
Well, I mean, seriously, you know, as a committee, this is what we have discussed. Some of the things that, as committee members, we can contribute are some of those things, like moderating forums or, you know, responding to comments. So, yeah.
I think it's a great idea that you have, because we certainly enjoy, we could share with you some of the phone calls that we get on different things, and I'd love to hear someone else answer.
Mayor Pro Tem Harvey.
Thank you, Mayor. Congratulations to you all on doing a wonderful job. We gave you all a charge and a challenge, and I'm really very excited to see the way in which you all answered that challenge by providing us with the opportunity to have something that is light years ahead of what we already have. And so I am definitely excited about it, and am looking forward to us entering into, what is this, the 21st century?
That's my line when people ask us what we're doing. We're about to enter the 21st century.
There you go. So congratulations to each one of you all for what you've done, and just continue the good work.
Thank you so much. I know there's been a lot of hard work. You know, a year ago when we asked people to come and join us with our boards and commissions, we realized at that time I think we had 9 boards and commissions. They all served a purpose, but with us going into the 21st century, we realized that we're not communicating with our citizens. And after all, the citizens own this community. It's not the city council or anybody else. It's the citizens. And so we need to have them responsive to us and give us guidance and direction. So we felt necessary that we form 5 additional committees where we saw holes in what we were doing. Yours was one of them, the Social Engagement Committee. We put good people on those committees. Here we are. And look at the work that's already been done. So I want to say thank you so much for what you've done, and we look forward to working with you. You know, we've put up the new LED sign. We used to think that if we put a little sheet in the water bill that everybody would see what was going on in Duncanville. We're long past that now. We've put up the new LED sign. We've got these new committees that are working just, especially your committee, working on just communication that we have with our citizens. We've got the new quarterly publication that we're sending out to everybody. It's not in the water bill. If it's, when people get the water bill, if they're like me, I pull it out to see how much I owe and throw the rest of the stuff away. So we missed a lot of folks that way. But various things we can do to make our contact with the citizens and their input come back to us. We're having our town hall meetings now with we have a topic on each town hall meeting, but we also have a discussion period there for questions that people have. So we're looking for ways to communicate. And this is just not Duncanville. I've talked to mayors all over this metroplex, and they all have the same problem, and that's trying to communicate with their citizens. So I hope we do a much better job in the future. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Item number 2B is to receive a report from Just Balls.
Good evening. Duncanville Fieldhouse. This is the report for January of 2016. In regards to fiscal year, for the month of January, we finished out revenue-wise at $76,200 versus this time last year, we were at $53,501. In regards to where the increases came from, we're seeing a growth in food court as well as the general store, with those combined, as well as basketball and our camps and programs. That's primarily due to our after-school program is what the camps and programs consist of. In regards to where we are year-to-date at this point, Last year, year-to-date, we are at 240,000 versus last year we were at 224,000. In regards to expenditures, our expenditures are down in all areas, including our labor, our management, as well as contractual. At this point, this time of the year, or right now, we're currently at 201 as far as our expenditures, and versus this time last year, we were at 217. Food costs are down, as well as general store costs are down as well. In regards to upcoming events, in February, this upcoming weekend, we have our Youth League, which consists of local teams, primarily from the DFW Metroplex area. This is going to be the 5th week of the program. We have 2 more weeks following that before we go into the championship of that Youth League. The next following week, which is the 27th, we'll have kind of a combo event. On one side, we'll have a karate tournament, which is a local gentleman out of Cedar Hill, which is the Heat Wave. And on the other side, we're going to have a group out of Houston, which is a jiu-jitsu event. In March, we have West Grandstand is hosting a basketball showcase the first week of March. Following the week after that, we'll have the Youth League Championship. After that, we will host, for the 3rd year, we'll have a Japanese dance group. They come through every March around this time. They compete in a competition actually held up in Denton, but they use our location because they have such a large group to compete and practice throughout that entire day. So it gives us an opportunity to host a very large group that we've enjoyed hosting for the last couple of years. And then at that point, UIL at that point is about finished, so we're kicking off our first high school tournament, usually between March 19th and the 20th, which is the Mustangs, the Kickstart program, Kickstart tournament. And then on March 26th, which is right there right before Easter, we'll have a one-day tournament, which is usually a girls' event. I did highlight that the events in red are those that are new to the facility for us this year, and the events in black are those that we've had for either 1 to 2 years. This weekend, I'd like to highlight, we did have the pleasure of hosting the national championship for the homeschool basketball group. This is our first year hosting this event. It's formerly been held in Frisco, so this was our first year to host it. It was held the 11th through the 13th, which was this Thursday through this Saturday. Overall, we had about $25,000 in revenue for the event, and we hosted over 108 teams from all over the country. The facilities we utilized, of course, we had the field house, which provided six courts. The rec center, we teamed up with them, and they allowed us to use 2 courts over there. We used Trinity Christian, which allowed us to host games there, especially our championship games. And then we also used Hampton Preparatory, which allowed us to use one of their courts. In regards to hotel occupancy, we were at 100% occupancy for the Best Western as well as the Hilton Garden Inn. Didn't have anybody that could give me the exact numbers on the Holiday Inn, so I refrained from not sure if they were at 100%. When I checked with them earlier, I know indeed they were at 92% earlier in the week. Also, we had 2 hotels we utilized in DeSoto, as well as Cedar Hill, and as well as 2 in Dallas, which include the Anatole in the Dallas area. And those were willing to partner up with the tournament and offered rebates back to that tournament host. I included a TV infomercial that we kind of used in the field house in order to help with soliciting additional participation, as well as letting people know what we're doing here at the field house. then lastly, these are just some of the inserts that we've been circulating with some of the local schools, just highlighting again some of the full features that we offer at the Fieldhouse, including boxing, personal training, as well as Zumba, as you saw in the video. And then again, just highlighting some of the new features we're adding along with the website right now. Do we have any additional questions?
Not a question per se, but I thought the commercial was real good. So really appreciate the emphasis in marketing.
Thank you.
Like to see that. Want to commend you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, sorry.
Are you still using the same website that you had before?
We use Civic Plus along with the city, but we do have a standalone along with Civic Plus. But I believe Bart has informed me that I think that's going to change shortly. But currently, we use Civic Plus.
Is that part of the
I believe so.
website? Oh, good. 'Cause
I believe so.
I thought the old one was not very good.
Yep.
So you're going to have that changed, and it's going to be updated with
I
the
believe
others?
we'll all be on the same platform. Yes.
Oh, good. Good. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. We have no citizen input cards, which was item number 3, so we'll go into our consent items. That's item number 4, and it will be items number A through items number H. And I'll ask the city secretary if she will at this time read the captions on those.
Item 4A, consider the minutes for the February 2, 2016 City Council regular meeting. 4B, consider a resolution of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, authorizing a joint election agreement and election services contract among the City of Duncanville, Dallas County, and various other jurisdictions within Dallas, Collin, and Denton counties for the conduct of a joint election to be held on Saturday, May 7, 2016. Authorizing the city manager to execute the necessary documents and providing for an effective date. I believe that item has been pulled. 4C, consider a resolution of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, authorizing the annual procurement of vehicle accessory parts and services with Main Street Installers, LLC, through a local government purchasing cooperative purchasing agreement and the expenditure of $75,376.80, authorizing the city manager to execute the necessary documents and/or purchase orders and providing for an effective date. 4D, consider a resolution of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, authorizing the annual procurement of security guard services with Bouchan Tharaj Corporation, DBA, DFW, Security Protective Force, and the unit amount bid through a Tarrant County Cooperative Purchasing Agreement with an estimated annual expenditure of $65,742, authorizing the city manager to execute the necessary documents and/or purchase orders and providing for an effective date. 4E, consider a resolution of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, authorizing the annual procurement of water and sewer maintenance parts with Fortiline Waterworks, Inc., with an estimated annual expenditure of $42,000, and with HD Supply Waterworks Limited, with an estimated annual expenditure of $42,000, and the unit amount bid through a City of Grapevine Cooperative Purchasing Agreement, with a grand total estimated annual expenditure amount of $84,000, authorizing the city manager to execute the necessary documents and/or purchase orders and providing for an effective date. 4F, consider a resolution of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, authorizing the annual procurement of water billing, printing, mailing, and electronic billing services with the Data Pros, LLC, and the unit amount proposed through the City of Allen Cooperative Purchasing Agreement with an estimated annual expenditure of $112,693, authorizing the city manager to execute the necessary documents and/or purchase orders and providing for an effective date. 4G, consider a resolution of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, approving the terms and conditions of a professional engineering services agreement in the proposed amount of $67,720 for design services for water and wastewater line improvements on Lodema Lane from Frank Kiesler Boulevard to Interstate Highway 20, Joe's Drive from Frank Kiesler Boulevard to Interstate Highway 20, Tango Lane from Lodema Lane to North Duncanville Road, and Frank Kiesler Boulevard from Joe's Drive to Lodema Lane with Criado and Associates, Inc., authorizing the city manager to execute the necessary documents and providing for an effective date. 4H, consider a resolution of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, authorizing the procurement and installation of replacement playground equipment with Kids Zone Play, LLC, DBA, Recreation Consultants of Texas, through a local government purchasing cooperative purchasing agreement, and the expenditure of $202,469, authorizing the city manager to execute the necessary documents and/or purchase orders and providing for an effective date.
Item number 4B was pulled because this is a contract with the County Elections Bureau to hold the election, and they have not provided us with the contract yet, so we couldn't vote on it until we get a contract. So we've scheduled that to be the first meeting in March, which will be March 1. Council, you've heard the captions read. The chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Will you please vote? Okay, thank you very much. Item number 5 are items for individual considerations, and I'm going to move up one item tonight to the first item up will be item number F, and that's consider a resolution of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, declaring the public purpose of the 5K 1.5-mile run, walk, Orville Rogers Run for the Hills event, and approving the terms and conditions of an agreement for temporary closure of state right-of-way with the state of Texas, acting by and through the Texas Department of Transportation for the partial closure of the westbound U.S. Highway 67 frontage road from approximately the 400 block to the intersection with Daniel Dale Road, which is attached here to as Exhibit A, authorizing the city manager to execute the said agreement and providing for an effective date. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council. Don't know if I need to say a whole lot else after the introduction because I think you covered it all. But the item for consideration tonight is a resolution of support for the IMOC race. There's two conditions that we're approving tonight. The first is that the race does serve a public purpose and the city supports it. And the second would be that we comply with the terms and conditions of the contract. The history of this race, they've run this for several years. Since they've moved the museum to Duncanville, they've run it in Armstrong Park the last couple of years. This year will be the first year we're moving it to their museum headquarters. So the race route is quite different this year. It's being run on TxDOT right-of-way, which is the reason we're here tonight, because we have a lot of 5K races, but this is the only one that we've held, at least since I've been here, that was on TxDOT right-of-way, so it does require a permit from them. Now, the agreement will allow for a temporary closure of the southbound frontage road that runs from Daniel Dale Road to the event, which is at the headquarters. There's also a certificate of insurance that goes with the application, and the city's provided that through our Human Resources Department, through Texas Municipal League. It didn't cost us anything. I'm going to skip forward to the route. The race starts at the Museum of Culture on the frontage road. They're running up to Daniel Dale Road, over to Main, down Main, Softwood, and then retracing their route back to the museum. So that's really all I have for you on introduction. I'll take any questions you might have on this.
Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion. Oh, question? Okay.
Is there a detour route for the service road during the time of the race?
Yes, sir.
What, Main Street or what?
Well, there's actually going to be a closure at Main Street, and we're advertising it from 7 to 10. We'll have signs out a week prior to the race, letting people know that that Saturday morning, is going to be a slight delay if you want to go at Main Street. What we'll have is a police closure at that point when the first runner passes till the last runner passes back through. So we're anticipating about 1 hour on Main Street. There will also be detours in the neighborhood by Cliffcrest and also by 10 Mile to get them around that detail or that detour. And of course, the detour, there's no real detour required at Daniel since it's still open.
Say, I didn't understand. The entrance ramp onto 67, if someone's on the service road, how are they going to detour around during the race?
If somebody's on the service ramp, it's one way, they'll just continue down the service ramp. I don't understand the question. The entrance ramp is not in play here. I mean, it's not going to impact the runners. They'll be able to get on the freeway without endangering the runners.
So we're just closing one lane of the service.
Just one lane, yes, sir. Yeah. There's no cars actually exiting at speed towards the runners.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess I just missed that it was one lane being closed.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Councilwoman Thomas?
This is the Orville Rogers 5K run?
Yes.
The Orville Rogers Run for the Hills 5K run.
And how old is he?
Annual.
And will he be there again this year? He's planning. And how many years has this been going?
The run began in 2001, and we have had a run every year. We did 2 in Armstrong Park as a placeholder till we could set the run in motion, because we've now had it sanctioned, and we expect that it'll expand considerably under these circumstances. Anything else that I can answer?
And it goes to support it goes to support the International Museum of Culture in Duncanville?
Yes, and specifically, the funds from this one will go toward the development of our global village, the cultural park that we expect to put on the green area adjacent to the park. And the Consul General from Mexico has offered to develop their section of that park, so we're very excited for something we can bring to you in the future.
Councilwoman Jameson?
Oh, Mary Fay.
More questions? I think they're going to be for you, so I'm going to step to the side.
Yes, ma'am.
I just thought maybe you could expound kind of on the park and what you were talking about doing over there. It's to the side of the building, the grassy area.
And I know you've all seen the teepee before the storm took it down, and we had always intended to expand the Native American area into a Native American village. And then it came to us, we had been talking to people like Bobby Ladd and some others that used to live here, that might be a place that we could expand the visitorship, because people stop by. Anytime you have the teepee out there, we have about as many people stop and go in the teepee as you do sometimes on weekends coming in the museum. And we would like to make a very special handicapped walkthrough for this park, and they will visit around the world. Each country will have a location, and each location will have a keyhole garden with ethnic specific gardens being grown there to work with Texas A&M Ag Department. They've come out and looked and said they'd like to be a part of that. And the long range, we would have a stage area so that we could have performances and that are ethnic specific, because right now we can only seat about 75 in the room that we're using for performances.
That will be a little development, though, on 67, the grassy area. people will see it from
Yes,
67
absolutely. It would be very visible, yes.
and pull off.
We think that it will be an attraction that across the Metroplex, that people will come to the village, because one of the things that the Mexico consulate has suggested doing is to build a miniature pyramid in their area that children could go in. And if other consul offices here in the Metroplex would do some of those kinds of things, it could be a very exciting experience for children traveling into real habitats.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any further discussions? Please vote. Thank you. Okay, item number A is to conduct a public hearing and consider an ordinance of the City of Duncanville, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and map as heretofore amended to change the existing LR2 local retail 2 zoning to GR general retail on William Sprawl's abstract 1290, page 811, tract 36, 1.2360 acres, more commonly known as 104 East Highway 20 in the city of Duncanville, Dallas County, Texas, and to amend the existing GR general retail zoning to grant a special use permit for a hotel less than 120 rooms on Block 1, Lot 2, 1.181 acres, Hilton Garden Inn, Duncanville, more commonly known as 100 East Highway 20, and on the Williams Rules Abstract 1290, page 811, tract 36, 1.236 acres, more commonly known as 104 East Interstate Highway 20 in the city of Duncanville, Dallas County, Texas, and being more particularly described as Exhibit A attached hereto and incorporated herein, providing for development regulations, providing for an approval of the site plan, landscape plan, and elevation plan, which is attached hereto and incorporated in as Exhibit B, providing special conditions, providing a repealing clause, providing a savings clause, providing a severability clause, providing a penalty of fine not to exceed the sum of $2,000 for each offense, and providing an effective date.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Chastity Allen, City Planner, Public Works Department. First public hearing before you tonight, as the mayor read the description, is a request by Stonewood Hotels LLC requesting approval of a change of zoning for a portion of the subject property and a special use permit for the entire property. Currently, 104 East I-20 is zoned local retail 2, and 100 East I-20 is zoned general retail. So the applicant is proposing a zoning change on the 104 portion to allow the base regulations of the general retail district to apply to the entire property. And that essentially allows for an additional building height above what the local retail district currently allows, as well as the maximum building size. So that allows for the development to be accommodated with those base regulations. Additionally, the zoning ordinance requires a special use permit for a hotel or motel that does not fall with or fails to meet any of the criteria outlined in the zoning ordinance. And so the applicant is proposing less than 120 rooms, no full service kitchen, less than 5,000 square feet of meeting rooms, and no specific provisions for boarding meeting rooms, which are criteria of the zoning ordinance. And that is what's necessitating the special use permit for the hotel. Again, the applicant is Stonewood Hotels LLC. They are proposing to build a Hampton Inn and Suites, approximately 64,000 square feet, a 4-story building, 102 guest rooms with amenities, including an indoor pool, a fitness center, and an additional meeting space of approximately 600 square feet. The applicant is requesting a variable depth setback, which is reflected on the site plan that was included with the staff report. That varies from 13 to 15 feet. The requirement is 25 feet, and so that would be a special condition of the special use permit. The applicant is meeting the parking requirements as outlined in the zoning ordinance. The applicant is also meeting the provisions for the exterior materials with an 80% masonry. And they're also meeting the landscape requirements of the ordinance with the exception of a deviation to the landscape buffer depth. Again, some additional site constraints require a variable width landscape buffer along the frontage. You all are familiar with the site. It is a highly visible site along I-20 and is critical to the future redevelopment within the area. And so as a land use, it is compatible with the surrounding land uses and the existing development pattern. It is adjacent to the Hilton Garden Inn, and so it'll provide some synergy as well to that development. This is the area of request map reflecting both 100 and 104 East I-20. As you can see here, the Hilton Garden Inn is to the west. There's a bank and retail to the south and a supermarket or retail to the east. And this is a zoning map reflecting that a portion of the property is zoned within general retail and the portion is local retail too. So again, that is part of the request tonight, is to apply the general retail district to the entire property. This is the site plan that's included in your staff report. And the landscape plan reflecting compliance with the ordinance, with the exception of the buffer depth. And then here are some renderings that are proposed by the applicant. There were specific conditions as recommended by P&Z to add to the special use permit. And so those conditions are also provided into your staff report. P&Z did unanimously recommend approval of the request. The applicants are here tonight if there are any additional questions, but I will also be available for questions if there are any.
Thank you. This is a public hearing, so at this time, we would ask that anyone who would like to speak in favor or against this proposed ordinance change, please come forward. When you come forward, I would ask that you give your name and address for the secretary for the records. I don't see anybody coming forward, so the chair will entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Close the public hearing.
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Will you please vote? Thank you. Now, this is to consider the ordinance. The chair will entertain a motion concerning this ordinance.
I move that we approve the ordinance.
Okay,
for
as
the
written?
zoning- as written for the zoning change, with the conditions
With
specified.
conditions.
Yes.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Mrs. Councilwoman Jameson.
I would just like to ask you, hi there, looking at the drawings, so the front door or the front entrance is going to be from I-20?
The front entrance will actually face Hilton Garden, so it'll face west.
Oh, okay.
So it's an end-loaded building, not essentially a center-loaded building where it will face 20 because of just the site constraint that we have.
I didn't think of it until I saw the way it looked, and it was kind of, so they'll come in either from Camp Wisdom or from,
They can actually come from the I-20 frontage and access the common easement between the Hilton Garden and the subject property. There will be a common easement to enter there to get into the site. And basically, the porticus share where the guests will enter into the hotel will be on one end of the building versus on front of I-20. But from a aesthetic standpoint goes, the building is designed to articulate all three sides as a main point of entry.
okay. Well, it's very interesting. It was hard to visualize. So is there anything else you can tell us about what it's going to look like, or?
As of right now, this is what we have, what it will look like. More than welcome to, share a style guide of what the actual interior will look like, and just kind of what the Hampton brand is. Yeah, just don't have it currently with me, and I can definitely email it to you guys.
Do you own other hotels?
Yes, we do. So we do this kind of development all across the Metroplex and also out of state.
What other cities in the Metroplex do you have?
We have a similar one going in Colleyville. We finished up one on Market Center in 35 in the Medical District, which we have already turned keys on. So This is going to be identical to what the one on Market Center looks like.
Okay, Market Center and
35, Medical
Okay.
District across from Parkland.
Okay, good. Well, we're excited. You're in my district. Welcome to District 5 and
Thank
to the
you.
city of Duncanville.
Thank you very much.
Okay, is there anyone else? Okay, the motion on the floor is to approve the item as listed with the amendments. So, are you ready to vote? Please vote. Thank you very much. Congratulations, sir. Item number B is to conduct a public hearing and consider an ordinance of the City of Duncanville, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and map heretofore amended to change the existing C1 light commercial zoning R1.8 single-family dwelling residential on William Sprawl's abstract 1290, page 810, track 6, 9.7255 acres, more commonly known as 1023 North Cockrell Hill Road in the city of Duncanville, Texas, Dallas County, Texas, and being more particularly described as Exhibit A, attached hereto and incorporated herein, providing a repealing clause, providing a savings clause, providing a severability clause, providing a penalty or of fine not to exceed the sum of $2,000 for each offense, and providing an effective date. Again, this is a public hearing on this property.
Yes, sir. Mayor and council, again, the next public hearing is a request by Saul Armendariz requesting approval of a change in zoning from commercial 1 to R1.8 single-family dwelling. The purpose is to develop a portion of the subject property with a single-family home, approximately 8,000 square feet. And then there are no development plans at this time for the remaining portion of the property. But as mentioned during the briefing session, that the applicant will be required to plat the subject property and then come forward with any subsequent plats for the property in compliance with R1.8 zoning district if the request is approved. The subject property was actually originally zoned residential. It was rezoned in 2001 for light commercial uses. C1 allows for a range of relatively intense uses, particularly uses that are more auto-related, that are typically not appropriate adjacent to single-family residential, which this property is surrounded by. Additionally, if it were to be developed with a commercial use, it would be required to construct a masonry wall around the entire boundary of the property as it does abut residential. And so that is an additional concern as well. So since the property is surrounded by existing single-family zoning as well as single-family uses, the property is appropriate to be rezoned to single-family. As I mentioned, there is an existing, in your staff report, there is an existing home on the property, approximately 1,800 square feet, that the intent is for that to remain. It would be subject to any required modifications, remodeling, from my understanding, will be necessary for that structure to remain, but that will be handled through permitting through staff. And then the applicant is proposing to construct an 8,000 square foot home on a portion, and then of course the remaining would be undeveloped. There will be utility connections required to service the single family home. Because of the size of the residence, it actually will have to have a sprinkler system per the fire code, and so that is something that the applicant has been made aware of. And then plans will be submitted and reviewed by city staff in compliance with the R1.8 dwelling district. This is the area of request. As you can see, the subject property, again, surrounded by single-family residential on all sides. And there's an aerial of the property. You can see slightly the area that's already developed on the northeast corner. And there's the zoning map reflecting the surrounding zoning and residential districts. This is a proposed site plan of the property. The property is intended to be accessed from Fairwood Place, not Cockrell Hill. And so they would actually have a proposed drive off the side street rather than Cockrell Hill. And then again, the rear of the site could potentially be developed in the future. They would have to come back and plat additional lots if that were the case. This is a rendering of the proposed dwelling unit. The Planning and Zoning Commission did unanimously recommend approval of the request, and the architect representing the applicant is present tonight and is available for questions, and I'm available for questions if there are any.
Thank you. This is a public hearing again. If you would like to speak either for or against the change in our zoning ordinance, would you please come forward at this time? Seeing none, the chair will entertain a motion to close the public hearing. It's a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Will you please vote? Okay, thank you. We're asked to consider this ordinance, so at this time, the chair would move to for a proposal on this. Beg your pardon? You want to make the motion? I want a motion on the floor before we talk about it. Okay. Okay. Councilwoman Jameson.
I would just like to talk to the architect.
My name is Ricardo Ortiz, and I'm representing the owner. My name is Ricardo Ortiz, and I'm representing the owner, Mr. Arismendiz.
Mr. Ortiz, so you build around here?
No, actually, this is the first project that I have that's in Duncanville.
I just saw that it was, that's a beautiful home. And it said that it was anticipating 350,000.
Excuse me?
That 350,000, that looks much more.
The value, oh, yes. The owner has very attached to the city of Duncanville. He personally lives in a home, and he likes the city. He likes to stay here, and that's the reason he wants to build this home. The opportunity became for this lot available, and even though they had some constraints with the zoning, that he was devoted to definitely stay here. So I think he's going to stay here for a long time because that's what he has plans for his family.
Yeah. So he lives here now?
Yes.
Oh, where does he live in Duncanville?
In Cockrell Street. It's a few blocks down Cockrell North.
Oh, okay.
Matter of fact, there was another piece of property that still is under C1 when they changed it back in 2001. Then it still is like that and still available in the market. But he looked at the option, but this became more available. So the reason it was that intention back then never picked up as far as developing in the commercial sector. So that's what more likely now he would like to have it as a residential. At this point, he doesn't have any plans to develop it, but you never know what happens in the future. Mm-hmm. So he's planning to use probably half of the sides for his lot, for his home.
And then maybe in the future build other homes on it?
At this point, it's very unknown. Not any potential plans.
Okay. Well, it looks like it will be lovely.
Yes, absolutely. The other reason, the owner's intention to develop R1.8 instead of the 1.4, which would allow more houses in the case of development. It was to make the decision to make it less dense because the 1.4 has less restriction as far as square footage. So there will be more homes, but with the 1.8 will be fewer homes instead of being more. So if in some case in the future they plan to develop it under the regulations for the 1.8, it will be less dense than the surrounding areas. But for now, it's going to remain as just one lot house for that size.
Where is he going to put it on the lot? Is it in the center or?
No, it's right at the front. The entry will be to the south street instead of the Cockrell because of the traffic. And he feels like being in danger since he already lives in Cockrell Street, turning into a house is very dangerous
Yes.
sometimes. So that's why he preferred to do it in the south street. And he's just gonna fence it and just leave it like open area.
And then leave all the back
Yes,
open.
it's gonna be open field and he has to maintain it.
Okay, good. Well, it looks like it will be lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question.
Yes.
While you're up there.
Okay.
What is the distance from the street to the house? How long is the driveway?
From the Cockridge Trail is about 120 feet, and from the South Street is about 170 feet.
Okay. Thank you.
The view that you saw in the elevation, that's the view that you're gonna see when you drive down the Cockridge Street. Because we still put in the main elevation from Cockridge Street, even though we're adding it. That's the main elevation that you see if you drive through the street.
Okay, seeing no further light, oh, are you still?
Didn't turn my light
Oh,
on. I got
okay,
it.
sorry.
This is a staff question,
Okay.
whoever. At what point, since this has been an issue that has come up before, at what point will the fire department require a hammerhead turnaround? Is this driveway of a length that's going to require that? I know it's going to be sprinkled.
Right, those will be submitted when they submit the plans for their construction plans. And prior to that, we'll meet with the applicant to go over all of the details, but they are aware of some of the fire requirements.
The main thing is, I just don't want any surprises.
Yes, sir.
After they get this far and then find out they got to spend a bunch of money on it.
Yes, sir, we've been in communication with the applicant.
Okay.
Okay, seeing no further lights, there is a motion on the floor. Does everybody understand the motion? You don't want it clarified? There's a motion on the floor. Is there any clarification, or are you ready to vote? Okay, please.
Do you have any?
Please vote.
You're our company man who knows all the. It's like everything's copacetic.
Please vote. Thank you very much. Item number C is to consider a resolution of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, awarding the three-year term bid for mowing of parks, medians, facility grounds, lots, and right-of-ways to TCA Terra Care Associates LP and the unit amount bid, which is an estimated three-year expenditure amount of $961,797, authorizing the city manager to execute the necessary documents and providing an effective date.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council, City Manager. Before you tonight is a resolution authorizing and awarding the three-year term bid for our landscape services that we do in parks, medians, rights-of-ways, and lots. And we have currently been, in the past, we've been under contract with Land Care, formerly True Green. They informed us last year that they were not going to renew. We had an extra one-year option, and so with that, it forced us to go out to bid. We did go out to bid, and 3 of the 5 were disqualified, and so we rejected the remaining 2. You all did that at the council meeting on January 8th. So we, I'm sorry, council meeting was January 5th, and the new bids were released on January 8th. And we only received 1 bid. We did have 27 vendors that it went out to. 19 vendors viewed it, but we just only received 1, and you all do have that as the attachment in this. I would like to point out that 5D is also kind of tied to this, and so comments are applicable because it requires it's an ordinance to amend the budget because of the increase in the cost to provide this service. So at this time, if anyone had any questions.
Any questions? Councilwoman?
Even though it's just one bidder that's come in, you've done some research on them, they're reputable?
Yes,
They
ma'am.
do a good job?
Yes, ma'am, definitely, yes. And they have many other municipalities in the area that they've done services for.
I know that in the past, we've hired them in like the first year or so, they've done well, but then after that, they kind of started slacking off.
And that can always be the case, but a lot of times it is based also on the relationship between the contract administrator and then the person who's responsible for the account. And I feel confident this time with this particular vendor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Chair will entertain a motion regarding item C.
Move to approve.
Second.
5C. There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Please vote. Thank you. Item number D, as just stated, is a companion to item number C. Consider an ordinance of the City of Duncanville, Texas, amending the operating budget for the fiscal year 2015-2016 by amending the general fund balance to reduce such fund by $49,812 and transferring said amount to the general fund Parks Ground Maintenance Contractual Services account, that the balance of the operating budget as amended, except as amended herein, shall be in full force and effect, authorizing the city manager to make the adjustments, providing for the repeal of all ordinances in conflict, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date. Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
There's a motion and a second to approve. Is there any discussion? Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. Question for either Mr. Hugman or Richard. If this particular item is approved, what impact will it have on the projected fund balance at fiscal year end?
It will have a negligible impact on the fund balance, excuse me. The way the audit is shaping up, we look to be somewhere near $1 million into the good and excess fund balance. So $49,000 would have a very negligible impact.
Better than we thought when we initially built the budget.
Correct.
Thank you.
2%, what it'll be. Thank you. Okay. Are you ready to vote? Please vote. Thank you. Item number E is to consider an ordinance of the City of Duncanville, Texas, authorizing the issuance of City of Duncanville, Texas general obligation refunding bonds series 2016, specifying the terms and features of said bonds, levying a continuing direct annual ad valorem tax for the payment of the said bonds, and resolving other matters, incidents and related to the issuance of sale, payment, and delivery of said bonds, including the approval and execution of a paying agent register agreement and the approval and distribution of an official statement pertaining thereto, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This evening, I will make a very short presentation regarding this item and the ordinance, and then Boyd London from First Southwest is here, and he will follow me with a few additional comments regarding this. We had the opportunity to refinance the bonds, as you recall, that we issued for the Duncanville Fieldhouse. We brought we refinanced that in 2010, and there were several things that were very complex about that issue. When we refinanced those bonds, we brought that from
complete ownership from the Economic Development Corporation over to the city side. But the Economic Development Corporation, as you will recall, retained their responsibility to fund the debt service. And so even though those bonds were issued with the full faith and credit of the city, there's no impact to the taxpayers whatsoever because the Economic Development Corporation retained ownership of the debt service. So very quickly, I will go through. This is a snapshot of what that 2010 debt schedule looked like. And the grand total that we had for both principal and interest was $5.7 million. And we priced the bonds this morning. They sold very quickly. And this is the new debt schedule that we'll have. It came in at a total principal and interest amount of $4.8 million. And so we're very pleased with that interest rate that we got on that for the savings. If we compare that old debt service to the new debt service, that's that savings of $826,645 over the remaining life of the bonds. And there was no change to the term of the bonds, except for that instead of the last payment being in August of 2025, it'll now be in February of 2025. And that's it. I'll ask Boyd London from First Southwest. He has a few comments he'd like to make.
Mayor, members of the council, we took bids this morning. We put this out for competitive bid. Took bids this morning, received 5 bids. And actually, they're grouped fairly closely together with the exception of the winning bid. And this is a firm that is known to step out on these type of issues and bid through. We're very pleased with what they've done. They have a good little business here. They're not a big underwriting firm, but they do buy a lot of our bonds that we sell. So Robert Baird is the winning bid at a 1.382, and actually all in with cost of issuance, that's a 1.77%. The original bonds that we refunded were taxable. Then that means they were subject to federal income tax. The holder had to pay federal income tax. And that was because of the management relationships that the city had with the operator of the field house at the time that we did this. We were able to do it tax exempt. That's part of the savings. And then the other part of the savings is just better interest rates. And these interest rates are good for the city. They're not good for the investor. So we're still trying to figure out what we do about the investor and keep the rates low, but that doesn't happen. So we've matched the outstanding term, and I want to make sure Richard said that what we did is we issued our best debt that we have. Your ability to levy and collect a tax is the most powerful repayment you can offer to the market. And so we did that, and you don't levy the tax as long as you have other sources to pay it from. So that's what we were doing there. If you'll flip behind tab A, that's just a quick savings page. It shows we're going to be, give or take, at about $90,000 a year. And as Richard said, we're actually paying it off a little bit early. And when you lower interest costs anyway, you're going to be paying your debt quicker. The difference between a 5% rate and a 4% rate on your 30-year mortgage, at the end of 10 years, you'll owe less on your 4% or 5% mortgage than you would your 6% mortgage. So that's just natural, so you're paying it off a little bit quicker as a result, but we just mirrored the outstanding debt service that we have. And then the last thing I was going to do, you carry a AA rating from Standard & Poor's, and that's a good rating. And in fact, I would tell you that it's probably the best rating that the city can carry at this point in time. If you'll flip behind tab B, literally the first page, we've got some bullet points out. And this is a quick and easy read, and something that I would recommend to the council, that it just take a little bit of time and familiarize yourself with the city. But the first bullet point is weak economy. Well, you don't have the income statistics that a lot of the rest of the DFW area has. And so that right there is something that this council can't do anything about. It's just a function of who lives in Duncanville. So you don't have the income that you compare. The rest of these are things that the city of Duncanville can do something about. And you'll see strong management with good financial policies and practices, strong budgetary performance with operating surpluses, very strong budgetary flexibility, very strong liquidity, very strong debt and contingent liability position, and the strong institutional framework has to do with the state law under which we issue bonds. But I have to tell you, it's very rare for me to see those comments coming back on any of my credits in that volume. And it's just like you knocked them off, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the city's to be commended, as well as the staff, obviously, putting these things together. This is something that we can recommend to the city for its consideration. Be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Generally speaking, the city is in a better position to gain a lower interest rate on its debt when it pledges the full faith and credit of the ad valorem taxpayer.
That's correct.
So then in the process of building a budget to set the tax rate and determining what the ad valorem tax rate will be, you know, you start out with property taxes, but you also have other sources of revenue that you can bring into play to kind of help hold the ad valorem tax rate down. So that's why I was mentioning earlier that it's good to see that we'll be able to continue paying these bonds with sales taxes as opposed to having to affect the ad valorem tax rate. So that's a very good thing.
There was a lot of discussion when we initially put this together about that very thing. Mm-hmm. And we're giving the market our best pledge for the lowest interest cost, but we're using other sources of funds as opposed to levying the tax to pay the debt.
I guess, doesn't, given the size of the city, have somewhat of an impact on the bond rating? I would think that your Dallases and cities like that have, because of their size, are better positioned to have like a AAA rating, that sort of thing.
Well, and actually Dallas does not have a AAA rating. I think they're rated the same as the city of Duncanville. And I could be wrong about that. I haven't looked at that in a while, but they don't carry a AAA rating. But to kind of give you I guess a visual on the income, if you go to Highland Park or University Park, where your income levels, your house price levels and so forth are much higher, if those two cities were to come to market, and they don't have to, they would they would be AAA rated. And then as you move around, and that's what I'm saying, that's the income differential between Duncanville and University Park and Highland Park. If you had the income that they have, you'd also have the AAA rating going away.
It's
So-
kind of like a personal situation. I mean, the more money you make, the less debt you have, the better your credit score.
That's right. My credit score is a lot better right now than it was when I was 30.
Me too. Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you, Boyd. Appreciate
Thank you.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion.
Move for approval.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ms. Thomas?
I guess this is for the city manager. So I wanted this to be clear that, that this does not raise the property taxes, that the EDC will continue to pay for it. The sinking fund's not required because they're paying for it, not the city. Am I right?
That is correct.
Any further questions? Seeing none, will you please? Is your light on?
No,
It's not working?
I couldn't find it.
Yeah, okay, all right.
The last thing said, they're not required to have a sinking fund because the EDC is paying for it?
That's correct. The sinking fund would be set up if this was being paid out of the general fund, which is what our debt service fund is. But
Right.
we are not required to set that up because the DCEDC is paying for the debt service out of their revenues, out of the half-cent sales tax.
Okay, yeah, that's right. It's kind of confusing because it was their project, but we bought the building and they're responsible.
They're
Okay.
paying for it.
It's like, ooh. Okay.
Okay, seeing no further lights, will you please vote? Somebody missing?
Somebody hasn't voted, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Okay, item number G is to consider a resolution of the City Council of the City of Duncanville, Texas, appointing election judges for the City of Duncanville and Dallas County for the May 7, 2016 joint election, authorizing the city secretary to approve on behalf of the City of Duncanville any changes in the list of recommended election judges who may become necessary because of the inability or refusal to serve on any of the persons named and providing for an effective date. We discussed this in briefing session, and
Mary's gonna
general consensus was that we would recommend changes. And Mary, will you read those changes to us?
Yes, sir. With the following exceptions, the City Council accepts the Dallas County Elections Department list of judges. Precinct 3204, Election Day Judge Evelyn Gray, an alternate Patricia Pearson. Precinct 3206, Election Day Judge Kay Cam. Precinct 3210, Election Day Judge Sandra Julian, alternate Millie Williams.
Okay, that is what we discussed. Chair will entertain a motion
Move to
regarding
approve.
that. Move for approval. Is there a second? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, will you please vote? Thank you very much. This being the last item on our agenda, we now stand adjourned at 8:40. We do have a quorum, so I will call our work session, briefing session to order. And turn it over to City Manager. Well, the first item is to discuss the agenda item. And there is one correction on the agenda. Mary, you want to tell us what it is?
Yes, sir. During the council member reports, I had put CC Pizza had provided us with food, and it was not. It was Little Caesars. I apologize. No, we have no pizza.
So on the consent agenda are the minutes for the February 2nd meeting, revised as City Secretary mentioned. Item 4B is the resolution authorizing joint election agreement, and we will ask City Council to table that item. We did not receive the agreement from Dallas County as we had expected to. They have said that they will get it to us tomorrow, and they are open to extending the deadline past March 1st so that we will be able to bring it to you on the March 1st council agenda and will not have to call a special meeting. So we will ask that 4B be tabled to the March 1st council meeting. Item 4C is a resolution.
What's that, A?
About what?
A.
Oh, A is the minutes?
No, A is the smoke-free article.
I'm going through the consent agenda right here, Mayor. The consent agenda.
Oh, okay.
4A.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Item 4C is a resolution authorizing procurement of vehicle accessory parts and services with Main Street installers. This is through local government cooperative purchasing agreement, and this is for ancillary equipment for mostly our police vehicles, but also other vehicles as well, and that would include radios, lights, and other ancillary equipment, and this also includes the installation. This agreement is for $75,376, and that is within the budgeted amount. The next item is a resolution authorizing the annual procurement of security guard services with Buchamtharaj Corporation, or DBA, DFW Security Protective Force. And this is an amount of $65,742. That is within the budget. And this will provide one armed and uniformed security guard for the library, working approximately 35 hours per week when school is not in session, and about 4.5 hours on Mondays through Fridays, and 7.5 hours on Tuesday through Thursday, and 3 hours on Saturday, again, for a total of about 35 hours per week when school is not in session. And this also provides for a one-armed security guard at the field house during the week, and 2 armed guards on Saturdays and Sundays.
Question.
Yes, ma'am?
Are you aware that Ricky Bryce has a security company?
No, ma'am. I was not aware of that.
But they have one main client that's one of the owners of the Texas Rangers, and they do TD Jakes, and I mean and he's at the field house. So when I saw that, I thought, Bart's behind you.
There's Bart or Brunswick. Do y'all have any comments on that? I mean, we have to.
Well,
this was through a
cooperative
purchasing agreement.
The state requires us to do a seal bid on that, so we can guarantee that it could be considered, but our choice is to go with Tarrant County Cooperative this time.
Yeah, but you could tell him that he may not be aware of that bidding process. It can be sealed just because he makes it through your.
This was actually done through Tarrant County.
Well, I understand. I read that you went with, but.
But we'll make
I mean,
him aware. That way he can bid on Tarrant County's bid next time or something like that.
I just thought kind of tripped over ourselves because he's there.
Well, there was also another Duncanville company that was actually bid, but they weren't low on the Tarrant County.
And I don't know, he might not be low enough, but I mean, he's there, and I thought that's.
This also includes the library too, so.
Right, and that's not really that difficult right down the street, so. And I don't think, he probably hasn't bid like he did Jay-Z and Beyonce and people like that, big people, so he doesn't probably get involved.
Or small potatoes sticking probably.
And he may not be on the municipal, but I mean, why not, we've got him.
I did know he does a lot of very high profile people.
Yeah, so.
Well, we'll mention it to him and see the next time around that, maybe he'll bid on that then. The next item is a resolution for procurement of water and sewer maintenance parts with Portaline Waterworks in the amount of $42,000 and HD Supply Waterworks in the amount of $42,000 for a total of $84,000. And this is through a City of Grapevine cooperative purchasing agreement. We previously had a contract with just Fortiline, but both of those vendors are approved through the City of Grapevine's purchasing agreement, so we are intending to add both vendors onto our purchasing, which would give us more flexibility in obtaining parts. And this is for water and sewer, so that includes valves, couplings, bushings, clamps, and other things for water and sewer line repairs. And that is within our budgeted amount. The next item is a resolution authorizing the annual procurement of water bill printing, mailing, and electronic billing services with Data Pros LLC. And this is in an amount of $112,693. That is within our budgeted amount. And we had previously contracted, this is through the City of Allen, request for proposals. We previously contracted through them with Data Pros last year in February of 2015 and are seeking to extend that with them. There are a number of cities that use Data Pros. When the city last year changed vendors, had contacted a lot of cities to see who their vendors were, and Data Pros was by far the most common. And so we were able to piggyback onto the City of Allen bid process to contract with them. Data Pros will provide all of the billing for water utilities, including the online billing, payment, and electronic billing as part of that contract as well.
I've got a question on this one. I had somebody get in touch with me. They wanted to pay their electric bill, utility bill with credit card without a fee. Will this do that now?
Actually, we don't charge a fee if they, we absorb those fees now if they pay for everything except for the online. And I don't recall exactly how that works when you go through the portal, if there's a separate charge there.
I think she wanted to call. She wanted to call in her payment.
Oh, yeah. I think we've waived all those now. We had that a call-in fee, a convenience fee, if you will, because we were having a lot of people call in at the last minute that they were going to cut off this. And I think we've pretty much done away with that because we've refined that process so much that we don't have that issue anymore.
So we take a credit card even though you call in?
Yeah.
And there's no credit card fee?
Right. We used to charge a convenience fee for that because we had so many people to avoid cutoffs, but we did our cutoff list to where we don't have that issue so much.
The next item is a resolution approving the terms and conditions of a professional engineering services agreement with Criada and Associates. And this is for design work for water and wastewater line improvements in the area of Lodima Lane and Frank Kiesler Boulevard. This is in the amount of $67,720, and that is within the budgeted amount in the CIP utility fund. And these design services will be to provide the surveying and base mapping and the design to extend new sanitary sewer lines in an area that's not currently served. And that new sewer line will serve then 33 unserved parcels along the proposed project alignment. And at the same time, it will also replace current water lines that are, in some cases, approximately 60 years old.
And woohoo for Christina Criada, female-owned engineering company. She's very, very sharp.
We like to hire sharp areas. It's always good to have sharp engineers.
And making.
All engineers are not sharp.
No, they aren't. And being a female beats them.
And then the last item on the consent agenda is a resolution authorizing the procurement and installation of replacement playground equipment with Kids Zone Play, LLC, DBA Recreation Consultants of Texas. This is through a local government cooperative purchasing agreement, and this will be for installation and procurement of the playground in the amount of $202,469. This will replace the playground at Harrington Park. I think we previously had provided you some information on that. The Parks and Rec Board reviewed submittals from 3 different playground manufacturers and chose the design from Kids Zone Play LLC. This is being funded from the Innovation Fund. That was, we had allocated money in there for the replacement of playgrounds in Harrington Park, Lakeside, and Willow Run Park.
So the 147,531 that's left, that you just,
That will be split then between the other two parks.
okay, but that's because you came in under?
No, we had allocated a total of $350,000 for all three parks. So this one will be,
That's what they have left.
right, for the other two. I think those are probably smaller playgrounds.
this is a big little Yeah, I knew it was, but just hoping at some point that Armstrong could be addressed.
Well, that's gonna be more we got
Yeah.
budgeted, for sure.
We've got to say.
Is this the same company that did Redbird Park?
No, it's not. It's a different company.
Okay.
Those are all the items on the consent agenda. On the individual consideration, I know that there were some questions about number 5E on the bonds, and also on 5G, the election judges will need to be discussed either during the briefing session or certainly in the regular session to provide judges. Let me mention on 5E, if there aren't any other questions on any of the other items on the regular agenda, we will have a short presentation for each of those to introduce those items. But on the bonds, this was a refinancing of the general obligation bonds that were already in place for the field house that the DCEDC is currently paying out of their budget. Because of the current interest rate environment, we had looked into the idea of refinancing them, worked with First Southwest on that. We were able to refinance. We estimated that we would see a savings of approximately $500,000 or more in refinancing those bonds for the remaining life of those bonds. So we had done that. The bonds were sold yesterday, and Richard can talk more about it. And he has some handouts here, but we were able to save over $800,000 on those bonds. That will save the DCEDC approximately $90,000 a year for the remaining life of those bonds per year on debt service, which then, of course, since that's coming out of their budget, that allows them more funds for other things, for economic development opportunities. This does not affect the ad valorem tax rate. The idea of the sinking fund, I know there was a question about sinking fund. The sinking fund is if we were paying for those bonds out of the general fund, as we do with our debt service. That's the debt service fund. But since these are being paid out of DCEDC, we're not establishing a sinking fund. Because of the bond covenants, we do have to pledge ad valorem tax as a backup to the sales tax receipts, which we'll be paying for that debt service, and that's why there's reference to ad valorem taxes. But there is no intent to raise the tax rate or to use ad valorem taxes to pay for that debt service. For that, Richard.
Was the time increased?
No, ma'am.
No,
It's the same
okay.
time frame, same term on the bonds.
It's on the chart, right?
Yeah, what I did is, you have a handout that has on the left-hand side what the schedule was under the original, or not the original, but when we took over, we refinanced the bonds in 2010. So that series 2010 is what we were currently paying on, and that would have been retired in August of 2025, and we're actually retiring it a few months earlier. In the refinancing, we actually go through 2025, but we retired in February because we make our debt service payments in February and August. So that last payment will be February 2025. And so I compared how those debt retirement schedules look. The old is on the left, the new is on the right, and then you can look at the blue column, which is the total, including principal and interest, and then down at the bottom, I did a summary to compare those two netting out, which gives you $826,645 in savings.
Well, it's good to see we were able to do that without having to commit ad valorem taxes to it, and it leaves us in a good position to do some replacement projects, given the state of our infrastructure.
Well, our savings though, the 90,000 per year, is that just a portion of it?
No, what he was saying is if you took that 826,000 and spread it out over all those years, it would approximate $90,000 a year.
Right, okay, but, so what are you referring to then, Patrick? Because it's the Economic Development Board that gets the money, and they
Yes.
don't pay for any of our infrastructure, so.
That's right.
I think what Councilmember Harvey's referring to is the debt service that's in the general fund, that's part of the general fund that we're not having, as you know, we paid off those bonds. So that debt service went into the innovations fund this year, but that was one of the things we talked with you about was future bond issue perhaps. And so that debt service amount is still intact. It is not being tapped for this. If that's that was what I understood you were talking about.
I was trying to follow your train of thought, because I thought they're not paying for any infrastructure, so.
And the debt service schedule that was provided with the new bond issue, it fluctuates year to year on how much is paid in the principal and interest, but the savings ranged from, I think, $87,000 to $95,000 a year, depending on which year it was in the repayment schedule.
And we're finishing faster.
A few months faster, yes.
And that's good.
What's our bond rate?
It's AA.
Double A. And where's the fee for Southwest? Where does it go? Is it rolled into the?
What there is I just made an interest payment on this old bond series, February 15th, and we had a scheduled principal and interest payment for this coming August on the old one. And part of the settlement, that is taken care of, and also their fees. So there's a settlement page that will come when everything is all settled out and how the funds are distributed.
So it wasn't rolled into the?
And no, it's not a part of this savings, but it does all come together, because if you'll note, we're retiring on the left. It's actually 4.9 million. The way the schedule shows is 4.5, because I had to take out that principal part for 2016. But we're retiring 4.9, and we're only refinancing 4.2. So we're in the settlement, we're taking care of that difference in principal, along with their fees.
Okay, more questions?
I do have a question though on something else that was on the agenda, and he had on here, I think, 8,000 to 10,000 square feet for the house.
Oh,
For the
that's
replat.
the zoning case, that was on item 5B. Yes, that's the change in zoning from C1 to R1.8.
And I was wondering, he's saying this is a single-family home. We impressed on him, it's a single family for a 10,000 square foot home. He's saying 8 to 10 on the one page, his application. And also, the rest of the lot, they were saying that homes could be built on it. So are we giving them any restrictions or telling them how those houses?
Well, you can only build one house on a lot, so they'd have to replat it.
So they'd have to come back to you?
Yeah.
They did not have any plans for the remainder part of that parcel, is my understanding.
But it was written on there that they could.
They could come back in the future.
And build other homes, and I thought, well, how are they gonna do that? Where are they gonna be, in a circle, or?
They don't have any plans that I know of to do that.
No, they don't, but they would have to come before Planning and Zoning Commission and plat the property to subdivide it into the other lots.
So this isn't gonna be Ponderosa or anything?
Well, they're only proposing one home at this time, and then the remainder balance could be developed in the future.
Okay.
That will go to P and Z and not to council.
Well, I just want to go to somebody that houses don't just start
Popping
up all over, because it said that he might in the future put other houses there.
And then the last item on your agenda is 5G, which is the resolution appointing election judges. And I know there was discussion last council meeting, so I think Mary has provided to you some additional information on that, and that probably might be something that you wish to discuss now. Mary, you want to get anything to talk about on that?
people that they have actually appointed are Duncanville residents. Specifically, the ones that are not would be for 3210, which is Millie Williams. However, she does live in the Dallas, or Duncanville rather, ISD, and it was noted by the Dallas County Election Board that that particular district has, or precinct has, more ISD voters at that polling site than Duncanville City. But we would, again, have to call the Duncanville ISD and the other entities listed, and then we would still end up having to do a drawing. And then also for the early voting, Barbara Lewis, it's my understanding she's done that for us before. I know she was there last year, and she's very experienced. One of their main concerns is that we have complicated voting because of how many different entities. At one voting location, you might have several different ballots, and it's just really important to make sure that everyone gets the correct ballot for them, because it can cause some real issues. So they're just wanting to make sure that we know that we have
Barbara Lewis
some
is
good.
Duncanville,
No, they said she was not a resident of Duncanville. She's in Dallas.
And these people that have been working these are well-versed in that there are several elections going on. And they even, when they live in Duncanville, they know that our school district is wider, and they know that other people are coming to the poll.
There's a listing of the ones that both Councilmember Thomas and Councilmember Jameson have provided, and there's information about those people, about whether or not they live here in town, and then also about whether or not they're willing to serve. And that's it's the one that came in your packet. It's the title's List of Election Day Election Judges residing in the city of Duncanville and/or Duncanville ISD. And
Try to enter attachment A.
the additional experienced election judges that were suggested are Kay Cam, Mr. Smiley, the Dallas Dallas County Election Department said that the person responsible said she was not familiar with Mr. Smiley. Mr. Adams is not interested in serving. And so really it looks, and then we are not allowed to make suggestions or determine the actual workers, just the judges. And there's a new sheet that I handed out today that'll it lists the actual code stating that we cannot do just the workers.
Okay, further questions about that? As I say, we're gonna table that one tonight because,
No, not that. The joint election agreement, we're gonna table.
well, that's, I'm not talking about the judges, but we're gonna table the joint election because they could not provide us with the contract, yes.
Mayor, if the council, if they want to consider whatever slate, if whoever will make a motion will name or refer to the slate so we get it in the record correctly.
Previous meeting, we provided you the resolution with the names already filled in. So because of the questions and y'all wanted to appoint perhaps different people, the resolution is blank now, so you will need to fill those names in to vote on it tonight.
Well, I called Robert Smiley, and he said it would not be available, so, yeah, he's in my district. Okay. So,
What do you want to?
Kay Cam said that she would be available.
and so Dallas County wasn't ready to give us a contract, is that?
That's right, they have not, and there's several cities that have already complained bitterly to them about the fact that they changed all the dates up, and they wanted to us to go ahead and vote this in by what, the end of this month.
The 29th is when we will
29th,
be
the
able
last
to
day
give
of the
them a
month.
signed contract.
But we won't meet again until
Right.
after the 29th. We'll meet on the 1st. So Mary's been in contact with them, and they have said we could do it on the 1st. And they should have a contract to us by then. You can't vote on something if you haven't even seen the contract.
Do we know how much?
No, that's one of the things they're working on. Apparently, there were a couple of communities or cities that were going to be contracting with them that haven't decided on their polling locations or how many polling locations. And everybody all together, it's all divided up by how many are actually out there. Like we have 3 polling locations. Someone with 10 polling locations would probably cost a whole lot more than 3 polling locations. So they have to know exactly what each city wants before they can finalize.
But from the crux of the letter, they don't like 3, they would much prefer 10.
Oh, sure. And if they'd give us a few miles of Dallas, then we can make our city bigger and give them some more polling offices. We'll take all of Camp Wisdom on the north side, in front of the high school.
Well, this happens to be the city of Dallas, and this is Dallas County Election Bureau. Different.
Right, it's different, but still, it'll give us room for some more polling places.
Yeah. Okay, so you will need to come up tonight if you want to vote on that. Blank filled in on the election. Again, we can only discuss election judges. We can't discuss. We have no authority over that.
So, really, just wait till next time to vote on the whole thing?
I don't know.
No, because I have to, the deadline of making sure that they know exactly who we want is also the 29th. So that would be, we wouldn't meet until March the 1st. I have to be able to tell them who we want, and
And
then
that
we have
goes
to go
into
in
the
and
hat?
do the drawing
Okay. Okay, well
prior
then,
to the 29th.
okay, so then how do you propose that we do that?
Well, whoever wants to make a motion needs to kind of, if you only want to change 1 or 2, then I would recommend that it was the Dallas County list, except A and B, and then just read the names of the people that you want to add.
And again, we've got
That's the
3
easiest.
polling places, so there's just 3.
Well, I would just, 3210 is in my district, and I would like to just flip and have Sandra Julian as the election day judge and the alternate Millie Williams.
So then it sounds like if that's the only change, then it'd probably be
Or maybe,
easiest
I don't
just
know
to
if
say
they-
using the attachment A, the Dallas County proposed
Election.
election judges with the exception of precinct 3210, and then if you just specify what you want there,
That should work.
And then that, I understand, goes into the pot to draw from, right? With the other entities.
Well, unless you name them. If you go ahead and name them, you get a vote, then.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll have done our part. We'll submit it. What they do down there,
Yeah,
God
they're-
only knows.
they're
Would you like me to tell you what they'll do? They'll say, okay, we had a draw, you lost. That's what
No,
they'll
I
say.
have to be there.
Oh, good. You have to be there
Machine
witnessing?
clock.
Oh, yeah.
We have to, we send a spy down there for it.
Good. Good. Watch them, Mary.
Does anyone know Patricia Pearson? I know Evelyn Gray really well. I've seen her a lot down there. You know Patricia Pearson?
Patricia Pearson she is a Duncanville resident.
I know
However,
she
she's
is.
a brand new appointee.
That's what I'm
And
thinking.
she's
Evelyn
never
Gray's
served.
always done it.
Yeah, she's never served, but she was appointed.
So I think
by
Evelyn
Dallas
Gray
County.
should be the election judge.
Yeah,
and
maybe-
Patricia
yeah.
should be the alternate.
Maybe I would start off as an alternate.
Because Patricia, I mean, Evelyn Gray's been doing it for years.
Think so?
It's my understanding that once we change, you won't have an alternate. If you move someone else into the place of the actual election day judge, then you lose your alternate judge. These offers have not been made to these appointees as yet. That's why they need it by the 29th, so that they can make their offers.
Okay, I would like to move Evelyn Gray into judge.
Is there any harm in going ahead and naming the alternate? Mayor?
We could certainly ask if we could do something. I don't know why we couldn't.
I think we should just go ahead and do it, and then if the county won't accept it, then so be it.
And Evelyn.
Well, they'll just say you lost. We had a draw, you lost, that's what they say.
Probably.
It is, that's what they say. You go, excuse me? We had 2 tries and we lost, because we get the ISD and
Picking up between 1 and 3.
you lost.
You lost.
Cam is in District 1, so I defer to y'all, because she would be running y'all's election if she was available.
I mean, my thought was, if she's new, maybe that's what I said. If she's new, maybe she ought to start off as the alternate.
Cam's been doing elections for years.
Oh, I'm sorry, what did you say?
Sandra Julie.
Oh, okay, oh, okay.
She's been doing them for decades.
Okay, I thought you were still talking about Patricia.
Has Kay been the judge or one of the workers?
She's been
judge?
Yeah.
Where would you like to place her?
Well, I defer that to them, because that's not my district. Evelyn Gray is
Forest
my
West and at the ball, and I thought,
So you're saying move Evelyn to this election and put Kay as the alternate?
No.
Put Kay as the...
Evelyn is in my district, so, but I don't wanna get it, I just knew Kay did it, and I put her on the list, and I sent it to Mary. But I defer to y'all, whether y'all wanted to replace her or not.
Right.
You know, I really, as long as they'll operate a good election.
yeah,
I
well,
don't
that's what
care.
I'm saying. And I know Sandra's by the book, you know, I would prefer that.
Okay, now, have you got this all straight?
All right, what I have is that for the early voting judge, it will remain Barbara Lewis. Election day judges, it'll be as the Dallas County Election Department suggested, with the exception of moving Evelyn Gray to the election day judge for 3204, and if possible, moving Patricia Pearson as the alternate judge, and then for precinct 3210, moving Sandra Julian to the election day judge with Millie Williams as the alternate if possible.
And then in 3206, put Kay Cam as the
Oh, okay.
election day
So
judge.
you want to make that?
Yes.
Bob?
Mayor, what I do when you get to this agenda item, have Mary consider the resolution and have her read what she just read in here.
Okay.
And then one of the council members
Make
makes
a motion.
so moved.
Okay.
Based on her reading of that, then you can take a vote.
Okay.
It sounds like you've got an idea as a group after discussing it
Right.
here, so she'll read
So
it.
then the vote's out there. So-
Yeah, and she can read what she just read to y'all with the changes that you've all made for you to consider.
Okay.
So you're reading it, we're making the motion.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have if they allow us to go ahead and name an alternate judge where Kay Cam will be for their precinct 3206, do you have a suggested?
Sharon Jones lives in Duncanville.
Yeah,
So
just
does
leave
Emma
her.
James.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I don't
All
know.
of these
I
live
don't know either one of
in,
them.
other than Millie Williams, all of those live in Duncanville. All of those live in Duncanville.
Well,
No, just,
okay, yeah,
just
Millie
just the Kay
Williams.
Cam judge.
Yeah, Millie Williams was on
All
there.
right.
Okay, we'll do it that way. Is there anything else on the agenda that we want to talk about? Okay. Yeah, smoke will be next. Next will be 2A, which is discuss for an exemption for the smoke-free air ordinance of 2016 for Jackpot Bingo located 1023 Flower Street, Duncanville, Texas.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Presentation will be short tonight. I know you guys have lots to discuss, so I'm going to try to make this quick but to the point. So January 19th, we passed the comprehensive smoke-free ordinance, known as the Smoke-Free Air Ordinance of 2016 now. That's the short title. And I wrote up there, and it's in your packet, what one of the primary purposes of the Smoke-Free Air Ordinance was, which was that ventilation and other air cleaning technologies couldn't completely control for exposure of non-smokers to secondhand smoke. So the history of this is when it came up for vote, the VFW and the American Legion came in and requested an exemption at that time, which you considered and you granted them an exemption. The bowling alley also requested an exemption at that time, but you declined to give their bar an exemption. After that time, the mayor was approached by Councilman Schwartz, who said he had been approached by the bingo parlor, represented by Ms. McEnry and Ms. Green, who requested that Councilman Schwartz tour their facility, took a look at their facility, and was impressed with the efforts they've made to isolate smokers from non-smokers, and spoke with Mayor Green about it. Mayor Green then asked me to sit in a meeting with him, with the ladies representing the bingo parlor, and again had another discussion about it. They presented several photographs as well as the charitable work they do, a packet of materials, and I copied and included those materials in your packets so you can see some of that charitable work. You will see though, since we didn't exempt bingo parlors, then the question becomes, how would you if this choice was made? And so I called Bob Hager and talked to him about it a little bit. Fortunately, the city of Denton has when they exempted their bingo parlors, did a very good job of writing it, so it was very specific. And I included that language in here for you as well as Denton's ordinance. And the way they did it is, first of all, they defined bingo parlors as the state of Texas does, which means in part that they're charitable organizations, and they have to be licensed under the Occupations Code, Chapter 2001, which our bingo parlor is. They require the bingo parlor, as you see on page 5, to provide a solid physical barrier to separate the non-smoking section, which the bingo parlor here does. They have a glass wall that has a door in it that allows people to enter and exit through the non-smoking area into the smoking section, but it's nevertheless a physical barrier. And then the other thing that Denton did, and I added this just so you could see it, is Denton chose to say that no other bingo parlors will be exempted after the passage of the ordinance. So in other words, they exempted the existing ones and then said no more afterwards. So for jackpot bingo, again, they have a physically separated area, partition. In the smoking area, they have some large exhaust fans that would evacuate smoke for people that are smoking in the smoking section. However, the only caveat to this, which just for full disclosure is, the restrooms are located in the smoking area, so those people that are in non-smoking have to enter the smoking area to actually use those facilities. And at this point, that...
Okay, so are there any employees in the smoking area?
Oh, yes, ma'am. As a matter of fact, would you like to tell them, how many employees do you have in the smoking area and in the non-smoking area?
We go in between. The smoking section does have their own entrance and exit into the building, but we come and go. It has its own ventilation, heat and air, and everything, and we just come and go through when they need.
So that's the deal, ma'am, and they do cross back and forth between that.
You provided photographs of the facility. You don't have on your slide.
No, sir, I didn't put them in the slideshow because I included them in your packets. That large packet of material they had for us, I included all those photos in your packets for you to view so that you could see the doors. There's two photographs on one page. I think Councilman Rutherford's looking at it that actually has a shot of the non-smoking facility. It's down there on the bottom, Councilman Rutherford. You can see the door there.
What is the animal on the wall of the head?
Ma'am, I don't manage the animals.
It doesn't smoke.
That wasn't a bingo player?
That was prior to they lost. That was prior to the partition, ma'am. Are there any questions that I could answer for you before you begin your discussions? Primarily, the purpose in doing this and I let Jackpot Bingo know. The purpose was to bring it to you so you could discuss it, whether or not you wanted staff to pursue putting something up for a vote at a later council meeting to vote on an exception or not an exception.
Well, I'll start the discussion. I feel like that, and we've discussed why they didn't come to the meeting the night that we considered the ordinance. But had they been here and presented this same information to us, I feel like that we probably would have been inclined to grant them an exemption, much like we did the veterans organizations. And based off of the work they do for the community and everything, I just feel like we ought to go ahead and grant this. And I don't disagree with the other ordinance. We'll grant it for this bingo parlor, and this is the only one.
But then next month, won't we have somebody else? We'll be discussing somebody. We've already turned the bar, we turned Bedford down.
Yeah.
So then we're gonna turn this person down and this person yes.
Well, we kind of told Redbird no, though, because there were.
We still told them
I mean, the bowling alley, because there were other bars that, but we've already said, are we going to say that there can't be any more bingo places in Duncanville? In less than 12 square miles, how many bingo places do we need? As many as polling places or less?
Less.
I don't have a problem with that.
There is a good chance that if I was bowling alley, I would come back and ask for an exemption. My point is, in the bowling alley's situation, the bar is located right at the front door. It's completely open. Now, if they would come back and say, we've located this bar in the back of the building and it's glassed off or walled off, separate room, and there's no smoking in the bowling alley, I would be more inclined to listen to them. But where they have to walk through the smoke, through the bar area, through the smoke, to come into the bowling alley, I wouldn't vote for that at all.
And this one, so you're saying because they do have a.
I was impressed with the pictures. I think it's pretty well separated. I don't like, I've never smoked in my life, and I don't like smoking, and I just had a dear friend die from lung cancer from smoking. So I understand fully. But they do have large ventilation. I think you've got pictures of that, large ventilation fans in the smoking area to draw it out of the smoking area, and the non-smoking area is completely walled off with separate heating and air conditioning systems. The only time and a separate entrance from the outside. The only time they're going to be exposed would be going to the restaurant, or some of their staff will be exposed to this, snack bar area. So.
Is the snack bar area in the smoking section?
It is, isn't it?
It is, but I would like to say that they do go out on the floor and like they go into non-smoking to take orders.
So they take the orders and then they bring the food out to them?
Yes, ma'am.
So they don't have to go into the store?
Right.
But the employees are there. The snack bar.
Because they want to work there.
So, y'all pass this ordinance?
You gonna take any citizen input?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll be glad to. Yeah.
You see that bottle? 3 heart attacks, quadruple bypass surgery, emphysema, 48 years of smoking. I was a dummy. You're gonna let another bunch of dummies do that to themselves if you pass that ordinance. Change.
I don't think we can regulate dummy.
Mayor, if you would, what we'll do is, I'll work with Smitty and we'll bring back a proposed proposal for you to actually vote on based on the exemption that he's outlined for you, and then you can have your final debate and your vote. Because at least there's two sides that I hear, so we'll bring it back as something for you to consider. You don't have anything on your agenda to
That's
take
right.
a vote.
It's just a discussion.
Today was just discussion, that's correct.
That is correct, okay?
So we'll bring it back.
And y'all, you've got the information there, so be thinking about it real hard.
I would ask if you know tonight of any other criteria that you would like us to add to the, we've got, it has to be separated, partition, it has to have a ventilation system, and it's only for any facility prior to the date of the adoption of the ordinance, which will be next time. Is there any other
Or
criteria?
if this facility should change hands, it's null and void.
Not grandfather.
Do you want, would you like me to add that?
Good.
That it only applies to them as the owners, and if it
Yeah,
should change
I
hands?
would, if you're gonna draft the ordinance.
Okay.
Can you do that?
Yes, yes.
I'm asking.
At least
Yeah.
arguably we can.
Dallas did it with its cigar bars.
It's prior ownership, the grandfather. You gotta be careful about the use of the words, because there's some zoning cases that says that it goes with the property, so I don't wanna confuse it, so.
That's what we have
We'll
legally.
exempt this facility for this owner.
Okay. All right. Okay, any further discussion concerning this?
Thank you very much. We'll have that for you next time.
Be thinking about this, and look, oh, and incidentally, the bingo parlor has invited all of the council to come down and go through and inspect the facility.
Play bingo? We want to play bingo.
They'd be glad for you to play bingo.
I want cards in my car I can give you.
You say Wednesday through Sunday?
Wednesday through Sunday.
For 4 hours,
So we don't
for
go
4 hours of
No, we can't go to
time.
I want to play bingo.
Okay, the third item, well, the item B is we've tabled because we do not have the item, yeah, no, I'm sorry, wrote that wrong. Item B is receive and discuss a presentation regarding Southwest stormwater utility feasibility study performed by Freeze and Nickel.
Well, we're thinking that the presentation is going to take at least 10 minutes, so I wouldn't really leave any time for question and answer if you guys have any questions. So we can try to squeeze it in, or we can move it into the main session, or we can come back. But
I don't think we can do it under the main regular agenda.
It's not on the agenda.
It's not on regular agenda, so we'd have
You
to
can't do it, you have to come
do it
back.
now or do it on,
They can't
in
just
March.
give a presentation.
No, because you'd have to vote, you can't vote
Yeah.
I don't know if we do it justice.
backwards.
Okay, acceptable to you if we put it on the next agenda. Okay, we'll table it until March 1. All right, item C is receive the library quarterly report.
Regular session, it's just a work session. There's a way to get it.
Evening, Mayor and Council. I'll take a moment to move up to this end of the room so myself and my slides in the same field of view. I'll try to keep this tight because I know we're closing in on time, but I want to thank you for the opportunity to present to you some recent developments in the library in the last quarter. So we're going to have to forward through these slides, which are not mine.
You'll get to it in a second.
Either that or you can tell us about stormwater.
Probably not the best one to speak on that. Thank you. I appreciate the vote of confidence. Thank you. There we go. It won't be surprising that we haven't had any personnel changes. We're not one of the departments that has higher turnover. We still have the same roster of personnel as we did the last time I presented to you in November. But since that time, we have accomplished a lot of things that I want to commend my staff for. We had a pretty hectic week around Christmas in December, where we were closed for the public for about 10 days around the Christmas holiday, during which time we accomplished what I think a lot of major projects. The most noticeable one is that we got new flooring installed across the entire library, which was an Innovation Fund project. It was the first such renovation since the building was opened 15 years ago, 2001. During that time, while we were having new flooring installed, we also took the opportunity to move some of our collections around to allow for greater expansion and findability. You'll find the Spanish language section has been given a greater place of prominence and it has more room to breathe. We've been looking to expand that collection for a while, and there's now room to do that. We also pulled our information desk from the middle of the building up to closer to the entrance so that the circulation and information crews can back each other up better. During that time, we also upgraded some network cabling in the building. We've finished the connection, the generator in the back of the building in case of emergency, and some other administrative projects behind the scenes. We took the opportunity for a planning work session on the part of library staff. It's going to feed into the strategic planning process, which I'll mention in just a minute. We also took the opportunity to make some field visits to neighboring public libraries elsewhere in the Metroplex to kind of share ideas and cross-pollinate. We also made some technology enhancements. We are now using an upgraded circulation software that is web-based that will let us provide services away from the building itself as well as locations throughout the building. It will open up the possibility for roving reference and circulation transactions away from service desks. We also rolled out a new library catalog that is designed for younger users that have not learned to read yet. It's very picture-based and kid-friendly. And a number of projects have been sponsored by the Friends of the Public Library, including a Lego mobile workstation, which will factor heavily into our summer reading program this year, as well as a new puppet theater that can be used by children to counterpart the puppet theater that we have for professionals inside the program room. And we also got a new book repair system that will let us handle repairs in-house with a faster turnaround time at lower cost than other outsourced options that we have been using. On to our work plan items, objectives 1.7 and 4.13, those being the library strategic plan and the collection development plan. Those are being worked on in tandem. They're both currently in process. We received input from the public last fall through surveys and reaching out to strategic partners in the community. And also, as I mentioned, a planning work session on the part of library staff over the Christmas break. We're currently working that into a draft that will go for consideration by the Library Advisory Board on March 3rd, and then at a later time, after it meets their approval, will come to you for your final approval. We also will be developing a schedule for library staff to engage community groups about library services. That is in progress, sort of along the same lines with the first two objectives. We have that fully up and running by the end of spring 2016. And also on the heels of finishing the library's strategic plan, we'll be looking at a revision of our policy manual with an eye to convenience, customer friendliness, and enforceability. Expected completion by Q2 of 2016. There's also an objective 1.8 to implement the top 3 recommendations of Ash Plus Lime. As you may remember, we spoke with a community partnership, community engagement, innovation firm sometime last year to kind of spitball some ideas about how to make better use of city facilities, focusing specifically on the library, rec center, senior center, Armstrong Park, the city core. They came back to us with some recommendations. We'll be taking a closer look at that and reporting back about implementing them in the coming quarters. In the way of service measures, I usually have some graphs for you about circulation numbers and all of that. I wanted to spend some time focusing on a couple particular areas that didn't have so much to do with checking out, checking in, and had more to do with face-to-face interaction in in-house services. I've got some numbers here that cover October 1 through January 31st, the first 4 months of the fiscal year. A lot of these are about on par with last year, but there are two that I really want to point out. There are two lines that say programs offered and program attendance. You can see that we offered 92 programs across all age brackets, and those programs brought in over 2,400 attendees. The number of programs is about on par or a little bit below the number that we had offered by this time last fiscal year. It's actually lower by about 10%, I believe, but the attendance number is 40% above, which tells me that we're doing something right in terms of the either marketing or designing the program. So I'm really proud of that. I want to commend my staff for that. Also, I should note that the number of volunteer hours that we have thus far for just the first 4 months of the fiscal year is more than double more than double that we had logged at this same time last year. So we've been making extensive use of volunteers. When I spoke to you in November, I mentioned a successful Halloween party. That was a heavy component of that. In the way of current upcoming events, there's one that's going on in just about 3 minutes that I'm sorry I won't be able to make, but in celebration of Black History, we have a local storyteller who actually is a Duncanville resident giving a performance of a program that she wrote called Voices of Black History. She covers pretty much the gamut of topics to be covered in relation to this historical month. That's going on tonight. Through these spring months, we have AARP giving their tax aid assistance program in the meeting rooms out in front of the library. Those take place every Wednesday, and it's totally free, open to the entire public. This Saturday, you'll see the library representing at Duncan Switch Street Market to kind of interface with some members of the community that we might not see on a regular basis, so that's one of our outreach endeavors. On the 27th, we have two programs going on. We're going to reprise our e-waste recycling event, which was pretty successful last year. This is a picture from our September event where we filled an entire trailer with electronics that would be recycled instead of wasted. We're going to reprise that. We hope to have at about the same or better attendance and participation. We also have a program called Tail Wagging Tutors put on by Therapy Dogs International, whereby these trained dogs come in and they're trained to sit attentively as though they are listening while children can come in and read stories, practice their reading skills with these dogs as their own audience. It's one of our favorite programs. We have another blood drive coming up on March 17th, Department of Blood Care. I want to mention two more. April 2nd is the Best Southwest Everything Teen Expo in DeSoto, Texas. The intent of this is to give teens an opportunity to interface with organizations in the community that they may benefit from interacting with, either as a consumer of services or a volunteer, or potential employers, potential institutions of education. We could have schools participating in this. I believe there's a roster of community colleges and community organizations that are already signed up to present at this event. It's the brainchild of the DeSoto Public Library, but Cedar Hill and Duncanville are also contributing effort as well. I wanted to let you know in case you're interested. And lastly, we're looking forward to the second week in April, which is National Library Week. There will be a proclamation as usual to be issued during that week, and lots of fun stuff going on, so look forward to that. I know I kind of breezed through it, but I'm trying to get us in time. Do we have any questions that I can address?
So those dogs are sitting like a 4-year-old and
Yes.
zoning and...
Yes. Yeah. We have, I think it's about 3 or 4 dogs that come in. We have it once a month, and about 3 or 4 dogs show up, and about a dozen children at least. We have a couple of repeat customers, but they sit with the dog and pick a story from the shelf and just read through it, and the dog just kind of sits there and listens.
Action Live, was that a one-time deal that we set up with?
That was before my time, but I think they came in and did it was a consultant, they did a study for us, a one-time study. We have a number of recommendations from that study that we're still going to go through and review. So. Correct?
Yes.
Art? Yes.
Yes, sir.
That we just read what they came up with?
Well, Art, you want to talk to that stuff?
Well, they gave several recommendations that the library staff, the Parks and Recreation staff will be working together to evaluate what we can implement. It's kind of low-hanging fruit type things that we can do to improve the visibility of what we do.
But they get you written material?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay.
yes, yes.
So
A written report.
Yes. Sorry.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock. We need to adjourn the regular council meeting pronto, so we will stand adjourned at 7 o'clock.